So episode 10 delivered a pretty action-packed episode, but it actually did a bit for our main villain Sagawa with his backstory and his religious family, which was a pretty interesting way to close off the episode and set us up for next week. And I have to say, this episode, it was really enjoyable at the end of the day. I still despise this father because absolutely, I can't believe how much of a scumbag he truly is. And you can argue, well, no one got hurt luckily because he was trying to convince everyone that he could control the Herald. But he's literally so disgusted with his own life that he has to take credit for Makoto's ability of controlling heralds, which puts not only Makoto at risk because he's lying and saying, I'm the one controlling the heralds, and he's keeping him with him, putting him in danger. He's not even giving the group a chance to test the ability so Makoto could be at a safe distance. Everything about him is just, he puts people at risk for his own gain, and I don't like him as a character. I don't even find him such a bad character in the sense of, like, he's a bad person, but he adds to the show. I actually think he's like the worst part of the show, but luckily he doesn't remove anything. I still have a fun time with each episode, but seriously, I'm just glad they found out in this episode and it didn't carry over into next week because holy hell, like him just trying to convince everyone that he was controlling that herald, it just drove me up the walls just because you have this little boy and he's literally lying saying like, you can be the hero in the shadows. It's like, this guy's such a scumbag. I'm just glad people caught on to it. Watching Makoto actually like pretty much control it like he was in a mecha pilot suit, you know? He was literally throwing the punches, the herald was reacting. It was actually interesting seeing how strong this herald was in comparison to Sagawa, because I was expecting they would have a very tough fight. And granted, they still did struggle in this fight, but it was interesting to see that if we're looking at just pure strength, the herald actually had the upper hand. And it was pretty interesting to see where ultimately Sagawa went with the fact that he literally almost destroyed his body and started regenerating on this herald. What he was at the end, it was pretty sad to look at. It's not like you feel bad like you want this guy to live, but it's interesting to see where they're going with his character because like I predicted last week, he's basically offering Juri the ability to leave stasis without the stone. He'll teach her how to use basically those jellyfish inside you, the specters, I think is what they call them, so that she can leave. Obviously, Juri's not going to fully trust a guy. Who would you trust? This guy's been trying to kill you all along, and now that he's on his deathbed, he's offering you this, like, one-way ticket out. Seems a little fishy, and it definitely doesn't. I do think there will be a double-edged sword to this kind of situation. However, I do believe that he has the ability to do this, and I do believe that as long as Juri would leave his life, I think he actually would teach her. And I think it'd be interesting to see what they do. Like, if I was Juri, I would extract every one of my family members first, and then make the deal, because ultimately she's trapped in there forever, so even if this guy does kill her, she was trapped anyway. That would be the best bet in my opinion. But seeing the backstory, or at least the start of the backstory with this very religious family, it was pretty interesting because I definitely could see how it can mess with a person. Like, they weren't even allowed to use soap because it has chemicals in it, and apparently there was some sort of affair going on, or I think it was an affair because I think it was the father of one of the kids and the mother of one of the kids. I don't think they were both together, or maybe they were and it was just like sex was completely off the table. But it was interesting just to see like how religious this family was, and I definitely think that's gonna start a chain reaction next week to see where ultimately that pushed him down the line. And this episode was fun because even though it did have a lot of action, that was actually pretty cool because to see a herald fight this monster of a guy, it was actually pretty interesting to see how they're going about it, especially that baseball where literally they were hitting baseballs close to Sagawa, so then the herald could then smack them because they were frozen in the air. That was awesome. I love it when they play with the physics in this world because time is stopped. So it's so interesting when they do things like that, and it absolutely adds to these episodes. But I really did like the added extra backstory and also the deal that's been brought up. I mean, obviously people could say, why would she trust? But ultimately she's trapped as far as she knows. So as long as she would extract her family members first, make sure they are safe, I don't see why she wouldn't want to take the deal because either she's going to get killed by the guy or she's going to be trapped in there forever no matter what, or she could maybe try to learn it on her own accord. Who knows what she's going to do, but this was a really fun episode. Like, I don't think there was anything really that deep with the episode. I definitely think there's a lot of potential with the backstory that's being presented, but really I love this episode. It was a really fun episode. Was it the best episode of the series? No, and I really don't like this father, but it feels like we're at the end game. I feel like the main conflict could be resolved next week and episode 12 could just be like the epilogue for the show. Really, I don't have too much more to say past that. I really enjoyed the episode. I like the backstory. I like the action. Overall, this is a fun episode, and I can't wait to see where that backstory is going to go next week. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the episode, and where do you see that backstory going next week? Let me know down in that comment section below, and before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.